Hello and welcome to the Ruslan Belov channel. Today we will discuss the global situation as of June 16th, 2025. A large number of events have taken place today, so let's get started. More and more reports are coming out of Kiev, indicating deep concern over the ongoing war between Israel and Iran. There is significant anxiety that something major might happen soon, including potential strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. Today, President Zelensky stated that the Russian Federation is also preparing strikes against Ukraine's nuclear energy infrastructure. This is exactly the kind of legal precedent that could emerge from a US strike on Iran's nuclear sites. A situation where one state allows itself to strike the nuclear facilities of another, which could result in various forms of contamination, including chemical and radioactive pollution. Naturally, if one country gives itself such permission, what stops others from doing the same? Of course, it's unlikely that if the US attacks Iran's nuclear sites, Russia will immediately strike Ukraine's nuclear facilities within the hour or the day. We're talking primarily about energy infrastructure here. Undoubtedly, Russia has several options. Either strike immediately or wait until the US makes the first move. Trusting Zelensky is a risky endeavor. So let's not speculate and instead wait to see how things unfold. Now let's move directly to the situation on the ground in Ukraine and examine what's happening along the line of contact. We'll begin with the Sumy sector of the front. Today, reports indicate that Ukraine has completed the evacuation of 60 settlements in the Sumy region. It is reported that 60% of the population has left the danger zone and another 213 settlements are slated for evacuation. This suggests a full-scale evacuation of the region, likely based on solid intelligence that the Russian army is preparing to intensify its offensive here in the near future. You don't evacuate an entire region without a good reason. This strongly suggests that the Russian army is targeting Sumy itself, the regional capital. While there are no map changes yet, several important geolocations have been confirmed. Ukraine has published footage of precision strikes on Russian positions in this sector. Some of these geolocations were pinned on the map. One strike happened here, another there. These are significant because they confirm the presence of Russian troops in these areas. In particular, in Alexeyevka and Costantevka, the Russian Ministry of Defense has provided confirmations, and we've seen some footage with flags, though not covering the entire area. Today, we received additional confirmation. Next, we move on to the town of Hriharivka, where fighting continues for the southwestern part of the settlement. New footage shows fire anomalies. Around 20% of Hriharivka is engulfed in flames. It appears the Russian forces have decided to flatten the main axis of attack by burning everything in their path. Many parts of the village are on fire, and it is reported that in the past day or so, Russia has dropped around 40 FAB bombs on the settlement, attempting to finally break the Ukrainian defenses. Based on this footage and reports, there's a high probability that within the next 48 hours, Ukrainian defenses here may collapse, and their units will begin retreating southwest toward settlements like Marina and Novosich. Now we move to the Kupansk sector of the front. Here, strikes continue on Ukrainian logistics infrastructure. Footage shows repeated strikes on major crossings over the Oskil River. It's hard to tell if this is new or recycled footage due to the different angles, but regardless, there are no map changes or confirmed advances in this area. The nearest progress is being observed in the Lyman sector. Based on several geolocations, Russian forces are actively advancing not only south toward Lyman, but also north toward settlements like Glushenkov and Novyi Mir. Glushenkov is currently under intense fire from FAB bombs and drones. A strong Russian strike group is concentrated here. According to some cartographic sources, over the past 24 hours, Russian troops have improved their positions slightly north of Hriharivka toward Glushenkova and slightly west of Novomikhailivka toward Novyi Mir. These are minor adjustments, but they show that Russia is pressing forward both south toward Lyman and north to clear out these two settlements and a network of Ukrainian strongpoints east of Novyi Mir. Moving further south, reports indicate that Russian forces have launched an assault on the village of Zelenaya Dolina. In recent days, we've repeatedly discussed how Russian troops managed to encircle Ukrainian units in the village. For several days, Russian forces seemed to be exhausting Ukrainian formations. It appears that today was the turning point, and Russia has gone on the offensive, realizing that Ukrainian forces will no longer put up strong resistance. It's still unclear if Russian units have advanced, but it's evident that Ukraine made repeated attempts to counterattack toward Zelenaya Dolina to regain control of the nearby forest belts and re-establish contact with the village. However, all these attacks appear to have failed. Footage shows a Ukrainian tank attempting to retreat after another Russian bombardment, but being destroyed by a Russian drone. Further south, artillery strikes are targeting Ukrainian FPV drone operators. Even further south, near Kolodyazy, similar scenes are unfolding. Ukrainian counterattacks are being repelled by artillery. In short, counterattacks are happening, but they're all unsuccessful. It seems likely that Zelenaya Dolina will soon fall under Russian control. From there, Russian forces will likely move southward from Kharkivka toward Chandriholov and from the northeast. Now we move to the Siversk front, where today we have many important updates. Let's start with the village of Hriharivka. A critical piece of drone surveillance footage was published by the Ukrainian side, showing another attempt by Russian motorized infantry to break through. The video shows Russian troops trying to break into the eastern part of the village of Serebryanka from Hriharivka using motorcycles. We've discussed this tactic before. Typically 3 to 6 motorcyclists rush at high speed toward a settlement, seize a small foothold, here in eastern Serebryanka, and try to hold it until reinforcements arrive from the east via Hriharivka. But it seems this attempt failed, as most or all of the motorcyclists were hit halfway through. Still, Russian forces are clearly probing the defenses in Serebryanka. Just south of here, Ukrainian positions are confirmed southwest of Hriharivka. A large Ukrainian strongpoint is under artillery fire and drone attacks from Russian forces. It's possible that the Russian push toward eastern Serebryanka aimed to cut these Ukrainian positions off from supply routes by entering from this direction. So far, this effort hasn't succeeded, but the first attempts are clearly underway. Slightly further south, cartographers have noted the front line leveling out along the Verkhnokamianske-Ivano-Darivka line. Let's compare the maps for clarity. This is how the map looked by the end of June 15, 2025. Today we have reports that the road between Verkhnokamianske and Ivano-Darivka is under full Russian control. This will allow for more flexible use of resources and improve Russian logistics ahead of a possible further offensive westward toward the settlement of Novoselka, which apparently Russian forces will soon begin storming from at least 3 directions: from the north, the northeast, and the southeast. Next, we move to the Costantevka section of the front, where the main events are unfolding. Today, we have marked control over most of the town of Chasiv. Let me remind you that according to our version of the map, a long, narrow salient had remained here, stretching from the Novyi micro-district to the Shevchenko micro-district. It was a wide strip that we had not marked for perhaps 6 months. Most cartographers had already made their markings here. However, we lacked geolocated confirmations to prove full Russian control over these areas. But today, the first geolocated footage appeared, published by the Ukrainian side, showing Ukrainian units striking Russian infantry and assault troops moving through the area. The 1-minute 33-second video contains several episodes, some of which were geolocated. One strike occurred here, another strike there. Based on this footage, we concluded that all territory east of those strike points is under Russian control. Based on this, we updated our map. We can now confidently say that the Russian armed forces control at least 80% of Chasiv Yar, possibly more. The Ukrainian side, in turn, retains control only over the westernmost and southwestern districts, specifically the Shevchenko micro-district. At least 50% of Plant Shop No. 2, Yuzhny, and Zemlyanki. Next, we move to the southeastern part of the Costantevka direction, where artillery preparation has begun. In the very near future, the Russian armed forces are expected to launch either a general or localized assault towards settlements such as Oleksandr Shultin and Bila Hora. A fierce battle for this pocket of the front is expected soon. By the end of June 16th, Russian forces had almost entirely cleared the bridgehead west of Kurdyumivka along the Siversky Donets-Donbass Canal. A large number of Ukrainian strongpoints have come under Russian control, and the pocket has been nearly eliminated. Today, extensive footage emerged from the triangle formed by Oleksandr Shultin, the railway, and Bila Hora. Let's take a look at this footage. It shows that Russian forces are not merely striking Oleksandr Shultin. This is, in fact, artillery preparation before the start of an assault operation. We can observe strikes on Ukrainian equipment, personnel, FPV drone operators, and antenna positions. Further south, additional footage shows massive artillery strikes on Ukrainian positions in open fields and along the railway. From this footage, it's clear that almost the entire area from Oleksandr Shultin south to the railway has been heavily shelled by Russian troops using both barrel and rocket artillery. It's likely that, even as we speak, Russian forces are attempting to break through defenses to reach these settlements. We'll keep watching, but we expect further changes in control in this area soon. As for the Kupansk direction, today's main developments occurred near the village of Hriharivka. Russian forces have full control over the village, preventing Ukrainian formations from escaping. Recall that on both the eastern and western flanks of this front, Russian troops are gradually advancing, trying to tighten the noose and encircle Ukrainian units along the Kryvyi Torets River and the railway between Novorodska and Costantevka. Each day, we see Russian forces coming closer to this goal. In Yablunivka, after apparently repelling Ukrainian counterattacks, Russian forces slightly improved their positions, and we have updated our map accordingly. Over the past several days, Ukrainian forces launched a number of counterstrikes and managed to regain partial control of western Yablunivka. However, today, footage has emerged showing Russian troops, once again using motorcycle infantry, attempting to break deeper into Ukrainian defenses. In this episode, Russian motorcyclists tried to rush from Novolanivka and western Yablunivka northeastward along Highway H32, aiming to partially encircle Ukrainian strongpoints located in the northwestern part of Yablunivka and gain a foothold there while the main Russian forces advanced toward that point via the corridor. So there was an attempted breakthrough, but it ultimately failed. Ukrainian FPV drone operators were patrolling the area, and once the Russian motorcyclists were detected, strikes were launched against them. Still, the Russian plan is clear, and their next moves are also fairly predictable. Along the M32 highway, Russian troops are gradually advancing toward Novotoretsk, attempting to encircle the settlement of Novo-Ekonomikan and the entire Pokrovsk agglomeration. Russian drones are actively striking Ukrainian equipment and positions, clearing the way for a more fluid advance by Russian forces. Further south, footage is being published from the Pokrovsk agglomeration itself. Throughout the day, during reconnaissance operations, Russian forces identified the positions of Ukrainian units, reportedly elements of one of the Ukrainian Marine brigades, possibly the 36th, 37th, or 38th. These positions were hit with a combined strike using Geran drones, both in Pokrovsk and around Novo-Ekonomichny, particularly near a specific mine, without any changes to the front line. South of this, the Russian army is actively advancing toward three settlements: Zaporizhzhia, not the city, but a local village, Yalta, and the settlement of Zorka. Several independent cartographers are continuing to mark changes along the Vovcha River. At least the southern portion of the village of Zaporizhzhia is gradually being encircled. Russian troops are preparing a pincer movement from both the south and northeast towards Zaporizhzhia to cut it off before advancing further. In the Yalta area, full fire control has already been established over the Yalta-Zaporizhzhia road, or more precisely, a small dirt road. It appears that north of Yalta, there are some pontoon crossings being used by Ukrainian forces from Novopavlivka to redeploy troops in an attempt to stabilize the front. But now this route is under Russian control. The ability to continue supplying Zaporizhzhia is minimal. We expect an assault to begin in the near future. And that's all for today, dear friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and all the best to you.